Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you for checking out another episode of the show. Today's feature is my new friend, comedian Meredith Hopping. We actually recorded this one sitting outside of Heavy Anchor the other night and had a great time, a lot of laughs. Getting to know all about what she's up to and including her new sketch comedy that she's been working on with Homespun Sisters. So check that out. And do want to remind you that Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Roughneck Beard Company and American Rambler, located right here in St. Louis, Missouri, with right over in Maplewood off of Manchester. So stop in and visit them. Shop local, support local business. Visit them for your favorite beard oils, beard balms, and one of my favorites, their Roughneck Genesis. Changing the beard care industry since 2016, this cutting-edge formulation of aloe vera juice infused with biotin, B12, MSM, and natural glycerin will push your facial hair to its healthiest and fullest potential while making your oils and balms work harder. Nothing else like it on the market, folks. Check it all out, roughneckbeardcompany.com. And you can shop there 24/7 use my code RPP15 for an exclusive 15% off your purchase. They've got a lot of great products over there, tons of different fragrances, and they all make great stocking stuffers. If you're looking for that last minute gift for the bearded guy in your life, check out all the wonderful products over at Roughneck Beard Company. And big thanks to Heil Sound for their continued support and helping make this show sound great. Visit heilsound.com today and get yourself a brand new microphone. I've been using my PR40 to record these intros in the show, and I love it. Really, really great stuff. So visit heilsound.com today. If you need me, of course, you can always find me at the new and improved rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the email at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you if you have any requests or anything you want to hear on the show. If you have any, whatever it is, I would love to hear from you guys. And if you need me, also, you can find me at any of the socials. And with that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy this new episode with Meredith Hopping.
Podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Meredith Hopping, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
This is beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats is the Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today at the Heavy Anchor with Meredith Hopping.
Yes, hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is very, very cool. I'm very excited to be here. This is first one I've done at the Heavy Anchor. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I've been here for lots of various shows and hanging out, and my good buddy Bobby Stevens, bartends
Bobby.
here. I think this is the first time I've actually done a proper podcast recording here. So
Yes,
this is
on the newly expanded backlot outside in South City
in December.
in December.
How weird do you think it is that we're just
It's really weird.
that we're hanging outside in December?
Just trying to accept it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, it's weird that it's this warm, in the middle of December. So I'll take it. But yeah, I'm glad to be here with you. Getting this is our, I guess, first time properly meeting. We did. We were introduced. I don't know. Maybe I feel like a year, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know. I'm terrible at time, but we met down at Broadway Oyster Bar one night when I was working there, and so I kind of been friendly with you online. I've been kind of keeping an eye on your stand up and what you've been doing in comedy and stuff. But that's what's kind of fun about this is where I get a chance to properly sit down and talk and get to know more about what you're doing, which is cool that even doing this show this long, I'm still continually meeting new people all the time. So I love it. So I'm glad it helps introduce me to all kinds of people.
Yes.
Somebody driving away there.
South City's finest.
Yeah. So I guess let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
That'd probably be a good start.
Absolutely. A very good place to start.
What are you from? St. Louis?
I am not from St. Louis. I am kind of a central Illinois mutt.
Okay.
And my dad was a United Methodist pastor. And so we did a bit of a central Illinois circuit. And then settled from 6th grade to graduating high school in Normal, Illinois. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So what was that? How was that like? Was it being
moving around a lot?
Yes, yeah.
You know what? At the time, I hated it, obviously, because you're a kid and you want to stay with your friends. And now looking back, it definitely had a lot of character building, and I got to do things like go to grade school with Amish kids when we lived in Arthur, Illinois, and I thought that I would get to have sleepovers in haylofts when we moved there. We lived there in 4th and 5th grade for me, and it was a lot more segregated than I thought it would be. And the Amish kids and the English kids, which is what we were dubbed, would have kickball fights. And it would get pretty crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Kickball fights. Huh?
Kickball fights.
I don't know. I don't know that I never really heard those two words matched together there, but
that's how we'd take out our aggression towards one another. Yeah.
We actually just brought it up the other day. Hadn't really talked about it in a while, but me and my wife, a couple years back, did an adult kickball league.
Okay.
And
that's kind of a big thing in St. Louis, isn't it?
Apparently, I didn't. My friend invited me and join, and I was like, all right, yeah. It was like Sunday afternoons or whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure, I got nothing going on. So yeah, we joined in. Of course, like some teams took it a lot more seriously. Some were just goofing off. Some would drink a lot more, and some wouldn't. And but I never really took a cooler or something there.
Right.
But if people had it or whatever, I don't care.
Right.
I'd take a drink. But remember one team in particular, they showed up with a bunch of those little shots bottles and stuff,
okay.
and then one's running around the bases with a bag of wine, and stuff like that.
It's a Camelback, but of wine.
Right. Some teams were pretty intense with it, but it was a lot of fun. It took me right back to the playground days.
Yes.
Minus the alcohol part. But,
right. But, well, depending on which grade school you went to. So
playing kickball with my friends, it was that was a big part of growing up. And,
it was.
So not we didn't fight as much as you did, I guess, but
not as much as I did with the Amish.
Right. Yeah. But I imagine like you're saying, it's either one or the other. You learn to kind of shut down and be introvert, or you learn to make new friends real quick.
Exactly.
And
I am not an introvert.
Right. But that I'm sure all of that helped create you and the character you are to be outgoing and and comedy and everything else.
Absolutely. I was not a wallflower. And I realized I did get made fun of quite a bit because I was boys don't get made fun of as much for being tall. I don't know how quickly you were as tall as you are, but I was 6 feet tall in 7th grade.
Right.
And 110 pounds. So I was Yeah, pretty gangly, and was actually called Lurch every single day as I would take my lunch tray up. And they made a website of me being like Lurch. And so this was like 1996, 97. And so like cyberbullying wasn't a thing yet, but they still made a GeoCities website.
GeoCities.
Being like Lurch. So like that amount of effort was put into it. But I realized really quickly, I can be made fun of, or I can make fun of myself first, right? And kind of control it. It's still pretty toxic, but at least then you feel like you're somewhat in control of what's happening.
Yeah, I work in an elementary now, so I see it. I try to do my best to correct it when I can, and like, you know, when it's appropriate, I guess. You know, there's just I gotta be careful everything I do there. You know, just because
absolutely,
it's just you know, always weird. You never know, but I try to get involved when the right, you know, just making sure everybody's doing the right thing. But you know, you hear just kids always just
kids can be vicious, and it's funny because I have 3 children, an almost 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and my 7-year-old daughter, she is very outgoing, and I realized through parent-teacher conferences last year that she's like the popular girl. And so I'm just like, wait, you would have destroyed your mother. Like if I went to grade school with my daughter, she would have destroyed me. And so that's just, I don't know what to do with that. Like I don't know how to. Her teacher was telling us that she would like pick one girl to talk to at recess, and then the rest would just be devastated and crying. And I'm just like, what? How do I relate to the fact that my daughter's a mean girl? She's not really a mean girl, but like, it's just so interesting. And these dynamics that come about in any social setting, right? We can see it with kids, and yet it also is happening in adult settings. We just don't see it as such a microcosm, I don't think. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was different. Like, you mentioned, like, for me, like, I was easily a foot taller than like every kid in middle school, pretty much. I remember growing like 4 inches in a month.
Wow.
During like 8th grade.
Oh my goodness.
I remember being at home, and this is 90, 97, 98 somewhere in there. I was at home when we still had the telephone on the wall.
Right.
And talking to my mom, and I was just like, Mom, I gotta go. And I hung up the phone, and I like blacked out. And she gets home, and she's like, you know, she's worried, like what the hell happened? And I'm still like on the kitchen floor,
right? And
then they took me to the doctor to get tested, and like trying to figure out what is going on. They thought I had like mono or something, and I'm
goodness.
like, no, I don't know, like I don't know what it is, but it was like no, and then the doctor's like, no, he's just physically exhausted from growing.
Right.
Like,
right.
I was.
People joke about growing pains, like that's just like, oh, they've got growing pains, and it's like, no. When you grow so quickly in a short amount of time, it is literally painful.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember not being able to sleep some nights because like my bones were hurting from growing. So
especially when you grow that fast, that young, and like it's just it takes a long time to grow into your body and everything.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I'm sorry that those kids picked on you for it. But
it's fine.
I definitely I don't know. I guess being that I, you know, was bigger or whatever, that I don't know. But it seemed like I was very good at making friends regardless. Like so, I was friendly with about everybody through the school, and that continued through high school. I was all sorts of different groups. I didn't have any kind of cliques or whatever, and and that continues still today. I talk to everybody, so that's what I do.
Absolutely.
But Yeah, it's crazy though growing up in small town, especially small school. Like I was always like the tall guy on the basketball team, and then we go to other teams, play other cities, and I'm like, I'm not the tall guy anymore.
Right.
Like, you know,
Now, I was on the junior high basketball team, both 7th and 8th grade, because I was already 6 feet tall, and I think they thought, oh, maybe once she gets her period, something magical will happen. But I was a late bloomer, unfortunately for them, and didn't get my period until freshman year of high school on a band trip to Disney World. On the charter bus, but no, so I was great for intimidating other teams
Right.
when they first saw us because I was so tall, and then I would sing the national anthem and then sit on the bench the whole game. I never got to play unless we needed to foul, and then they'd be like, Meredith, just go in and like slap the ball away
Right.
from people. So
club somebody.
absolutely.
Yeah, so are your parents tall then too, or is that
My father is 6'7",
okay?
and my mom is 5'8". So
My dad's 6'9",
okay.
mom's 5'3",
Oh wow.
so that's where I'm
Yeah.
kind of in the middle. So
Yes,
but
absolutely.
yeah, like all my family were there's a bunch of, especially the Presley side is like my uncles were like 6'6", and
Yeah.
even my aunts were like 6 foot tall
Yeah.
and stuff. Like it was a lot of big people over there. Mm-hmm. So. But were you so obviously you were talking about kind of having to be this adjusting to making new friends, being outgoing, and all these different things. When did you find performance started coming into play?
Absolutely. So my grandfather, my father, and my ex-husband, all pastors. And I like to say that despite that, I'm still a Christian. But I was singing in church at a very early age and loved doing that. I was actually born without a soft palate, which is when you take your tongue and it gets soft on the roof of your mouth. That was just like a hole for me. And so I would puke through my nose. And like I couldn't laugh ever with like food or like literally milk, would come out of my nose if I laughed. And then in 3rd grade, I had reconstructive surgery to create a faux soft palate where they grafted skin from the back of my throat to create one. And after that, I did voice lessons for part of my therapy and realized I could sing opera. And so I was actually on a trajectory to go to grad school for opera.
Wow.
And instead, I get on stage and tell jokes about my butthole. So my parents are really thrilled with the direction my life is taken.
Basically the same thing.
Basically the same thing. If I hadn't given them 3 grandchildren, I don't think they'd be so okay with the direction my life has taken. But so I did. I started at Millikan University in Decatur doing vocal performance, and just really the one thing I hated about opera and the classical music world is how stuffy and elitist it was. Mm-hmm. And I would find myself being the performer at competitions that would like win, but would also be making my evening gown into a drum in the hallway because I thought it was hilarious. And making people laugh and like making fart noises, and
classic.
It just kind of didn't mesh well, and I realized that it did fly a little more in the theater world. But I also lost my scholarship when I switched majors. So my parents were like, yeah, you're gonna go to a state school now. So I went to Illinois State University and was a theater major, which is actually an amazing, amazing theater school. It's where all the people who started Steppenwolf went in Chicago. So Laurie Metcalf and Gary Sinise. And while I was there, John Malkovich actually came and spoke.
Oh, nice.
And he never graduated because he refused to take his Constitution test, which is such a John Malkovich thing to do. And so they wanted to bestow an honorary degree upon him so they can claim him, obviously, as an alumni. And so that was really cool to to interact with him. But so I went there, and I mostly focused on serious acting and drama instead of comedy. And I remember my senior year in an auditioning class doing a monologue that was comedic, and a teacher saying, "Oh, Meredith, you're funny." And I was like, wait a minute. I think I just spent a lot of money for us to have not been working on that for the past 3 years. But I never wanted, like, the people that did improv that were in my class at ISU were like the Try Guys from BuzzFeed. And then Caitlin Barlow is someone who, I don't know if you ever saw the show Teachers that was on Nick at Night, and is an amazing web series. But so people who were like doing really amazing things in comedy, and they were kind of like the gods, right, of improv. And so you just didn't really touch comedy. So now it's kind of funny. People hear that I do stand up and they're like, "What? You do stand up?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." So it wasn't until I didn't start stand up until I was 33. And that was the first time I ever got on stage to tell jokes. And I was very methodical about it because I really love having control in situations. And people will ask, "Why didn't you do improv, like, to start comedy?" And because they're like, you can blame other people if it goes wrong if you do improv. And in doing stand-up, there's no one to blame but yourself if no one laughs. So, I seriously got my first laugh at my first Funny Bone open mic, and I was just like, oh, this is what I was created to do.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Very cool. I don't know. I've often so I spent a lot of time. I worked evenings 2:30 to 11, Monday through Friday. So I would go out a lot on Sunday nights because they had those Kilo Diabetes Foundation passes, and And it was like good Sunday through Thursday.
Right.
I'd go up there on Sunday nights, and I was like, my Saturday.
Definitely.
And I'd hang out, and I become buddies with like so many. Of our local talent, along with all the people touring through, and I became good friends with a lot of people who are going on to great success now and stuff. And but it was fun to get and hang out with them at a small club like that. But I was there hanging out so often. Everybody's always like, "Oh, hey, do you want to do comedy?"
Right.
And I'm like,
"When are you going to go up?
No,
when are you going to go up?"
It's like, I'm just a fan.
And can I just say, on behalf of all other stand-up comedians, thank you, white man, for not being one more white man doing stand-up. It's appreciated.
Well, you're welcome. But I've never had like there's nothing been telling me I need to try it or get, but I do, it has crossed my mind to try improv.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, especially doing this show and just, I feel like it could be applied to anything in life really.
Absolutely.
But have that, be able to work that muscle to work and process quicker, come up with
and
ideas.
Just the communication skills that come out of it are pretty amazing.
I think improv would be a fun tool to have, just something else to try and challenge myself. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that doing stand-up is going to be ever my thing. But I enjoy the art form a lot. I'm a big fan. I've watched enough people work, and I love, I've watched them develop the joke, telling it time after time, and then watching them finally click into that punchline or whatever it is, and then or the crowd work that comes with it and all the different things. And so it's truly a lot of fun for me to, especially, again, so many of my friends that watching them develop their act over the years and here in town. So yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it a lot. I think today so many people just assume obviously there's people that know the clubs and everything, but the process, the work that goes into it, but like, it's just so much with everybody just like, oh, I got a Netflix special or whatever. Right. It's always the hour and the specials and stuff. And like, so it's really fun to watch the work that goes into
people don't understand the trajectory unless they are in the trajectory.
Right.
So there are people who definitely don't understand why I don't have a Netflix special yet. 3 years in, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, baby.
Yeah. But I mean, but people, I'm sure you've probably been asked or that or something, people always just like assume like, even if you just started doing songs, playing guitar and singing or whatever, and people are like, oh, you should go on The Voice,
Right,
like
right.
that's, it's like, and it's like, it took those people, years and years to develop and like everything. It's just like, but people just assume like there's a, oh, hey, why don't you just go do that? Haven't you thought about that? Like, you should just go do it.
Everyone thinks they know, even though they're not in the game, right? That's definitely.
It just makes me laugh at how some people think it is so easy just to, hey, you just call Netflix and they're just giving
come
them.
on. Yeah, my favorite is, I think it was about a year and a half ago, doing a stand-up open mic became the punishment for losing your fantasy football league. And so we started to be able to like spot them. And so if I was hosting an open mic that one of them were at, I would just say, this next guy lost his fit. And they'd be like, how did you know? And I'm like, you all look the same.
Right.
That's how we knew. And it's great for us that the thing we want to do with our life is your punishment.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Right. That'll make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been at this, what you said, three years or so now?
Yeah, June 27th, 2017
All right.
was my first open mic.
Very cool. And you now, you're kind of getting to sort of mash it all together, I guess, in a sense. Let's talk about your current project you kind of been developing, your Homespun Sisters.
Homespun Sisters, yes. It is a fun sketch/improv project I'm doing with Alexis Winford. And Alexis Winford, in my opinion, is the most brilliant sketch artist and character actress that is in St. Louis right now. She is just beyond brilliant. The first time I saw her perform, it was on Christian Lawrence, who I'm sure you know, his variety character show Boob Gun. And I was doing a character and she was doing a character as well, but her character was a fruit bat. And she literally didn't say a word. She came in honest, like rolling through the audience on a skateboard and was just up there eating fruit, dressed as a bat. And I lost my mind.
Yeah.
It was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. And I knew when I had the idea for this project, I knew I only wanted to do it if I could do it with her, not knowing at the time that her father is a pastor as well. And so Homespun Sisters are two women, Mary, Judith, and Martha Ruth, who are Pentecostal women whose husbands have died. And so now we're having to take adult field trips to find out what the world is really like, because we don't know and we have to figure out how to survive. And so one of the first things we did was go to the sunflower farm in Eureka. I think is that where it is? Where everyone goes and gets senior pictures and engagement pictures taken.
Yeah, we went to one down in Columbia Bottoms.
Okay.
There might be one in Eureka too, I'm sure.
Right,
but
right.
There was a few of them, yeah.
We were dressed up and we have very high hair because the higher the hair, the closer to God.
That's facts.
And I felt kind of bad because there were people taking like engagement pictures and then we're like running through the field in our outfits, yelling at one another. But it's just so fun and it allows us both. We have all this biblical knowledge, all this stuff, and some of it's traumatic, right? If you grow up in the church, you're gonna have some trauma, no matter what, I think, because humans are human, and we're able to use that. And what I think is really special about the project is we're definitely poking fun at it, because there's tons of ridiculous stuff when it comes to religion, and for our experience specifically, Christianity, but we still believe it, right? And so it's kind of like no one's allowed to make fun of my family except me.
Right.
And if anyone outside of my family tries to make fun of me, then it's on. But we're still part of the family. And so it's just a wonderful thing. We've had a wonderful response to it. And I'm just really excited. We'll start shooting the actual web series probably at the start of 2021.
Yeah. So you can get plugged in on what you have a Facebook page and you can see some of the videos there.
Absolutely.
And I just imagine if you like would have started like photobombing some of those
we did.
Yeah.
Like, there are some of our videos where people are in them who were trying to take pictures, and Alexis gets on a tractor in one of the videos that I highly recommend everyone go look up on our Facebook page, Homespun Sisters. And she's stuck, and I think she's just acting like she's stuck, and so I refuse to come help her. And these 3 other women are just like, oh my gosh, do you need help? And come over and help her get down. and I just look like this horrible person and have to stay in character.
Right.
So it's very much fun because it's a little bit Sasha Baron Cohen, like a little bit renegade comedy, and there's something so fun about it, and there's no way I ever would have been able to do it until I was 36, right? Because I would have cared too much about what people were thinking about how I looked and what I was doing, and now it's just so much fun.
Right.
So much fun.
You mentioned Sasha Baron Cohen, and he's incredible. I don't know how he does it. Like, that guy is probably the most gifted at staying to the bit, like
right
in character, no matter what happens.
Absolutely,
he stays to that character, and obviously makes great comedy out of it all. But I haven't been able to catch the new.
I haven't either.
Borat 2, but Borat is one of the one of the best.
Oh my goodness.
But kind of not that I've never really got into acting and done any of this, but it just kind of triggered a memory because I did a friend's podcast last week, and they wanted to play a game where we did Bean Boozled.
Okay. The jelly beans?
Jelly beans
okay.
that like either taste like dog food or vomit or all kinds of gross things. And like, of course, they were like getting grossed out. Like they would immediately spit them out and stuff. And like, but so the bit was over. Like we had a little segment we did, but I just continued to keep eating them all throughout the show. And I'm like, I'm committed. Like I'm, I'm like, so like I'm just like randomly eating them on my own, and I'm like, like so. It was a lot of fun. But that's the thing. I was like, you asked me to come entertain, and I'm going to entertain. I'm going to do my part to, create this this moment. So
yes.
But so it wasn't quite full on character, but they offered the bit, and I stuck with it. So. But I do really like what you're doing with the. I liked what made me laugh reading the Port of John the Baptist.
Yes,
that was.
I do legitimate. So some of it, it comes from some real life stuff. Because if I had a Bible crush, it would definitely be John the Baptist.
Yeah.
That's just. I think many women would, and men, if that. But so it's just fun to have this stuff and experiences that in most other platforms is kind of useless, and that we figured out a way for it to have worth.
Yeah. So there is so what I guess you said you wanted to develop this into some sort of series online and see where these two ladies go. That would be a lot of fun. I think that it'd be. I mean, like obviously, you can tell that's like this is just the idea, but it'd be fun to be able to offer some production into it,
right?
And get step it up and actually make these characters really come to life and stuff. So that I'm excited to see where this goes and see what's in store for these women.
Yes.
But it is funny to me too, because I've haven't been involved in the church, but for 3 years I worked side by side with a Pentecostal woman.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things that really resonated, hitting home for me with that, and just being involved with her and stuff. And you two do a very good job of creating those characters.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's very, very fun. So check out Homespun Sisters again on your Facebook page for right now until we get maybe early next year. We'll get some stuff going. So
keep a lookout.
This man, what a weird year. There's so many things I wanted to do. I'm sure you were the same.
Yes.
I mean, all of us we had a lot of big plans, and everything been put on hold. Hit the pause button. So we're doing our best to keep. Luckily I've been fortunate enough like this. We get a space out on a patio somewhere and do it and record the show and keeping it going. But definitely not. So I've been able to still create some, but not quite what I wanted to do this year. But it's been a really difficult process for a lot of people trying to, especially creative
It's
ones.
been the year of the pivot.
Yeah,
100%. So that's Homespun Sisters was born out of a need to create and stand up, not being as consistent as it was. So I think we're going to be amazed at the things that come out of this year. There's been so much heartache and so much negativity, and yet I think there's going to be a lot of amazing things that come out of it as well.
I agree. I think I'm excited. I'm a giant music fan. I think there's going to be a lot of really incredible records born out of this it's been difficult, but I think things will be better. Hopefully, the thing that bothers me the most. Obviously, everybody the death happening it's awful and everything, but I hate that how divided everything has become.
Oh my goodness!
Everybody just looks at you like you already have the virus or something like that. You go to the store you got your mask on doing it, but everybody just assumes the way they step. To clear across the room or whatever.
Right.
So it's everybody just assumes that everybody has it, and it's I can't wait till we can get back to the day where we can be in some small sweaty club or
oh my goodness,
sitting side by side at a comedy club or whatever and stuff. And,
we were talking before about live music. Oh, gosh. Oh my gosh. And so I did find love during the pandemic, right? That's I think quite a few.
That's the name of your autobiography.
Love during a pandemic. But no, on the apps, I'm a dating app success story, I suppose, or we are. But it's crazy to think about the things that I haven't experienced with my boyfriend that are normally just normal things that you experience. We've never been to a concert together, and what's really terrifying about that is we could be together for quite a while until concerts come back, and then we go to a show and I find out that he's the guy that buys the shirt and puts it on at the show. And then how do I reconcile that? I'm already in love with this man, but he's the guy that puts on the shirt at the show. No offense if you're that guy, Shane. There's nothing wrong with wearing the band's shirt to the show from a previous show, but when you're the guy that puts on the shirt right after you buy the shirt before the show, I don't know. That's
a red flag.
That's a red flag. That might be a non-negotiable for me. And I have no way of knowing if he is that guy or not. So it's really interesting. It's nice to have downtime to actually get to know someone. It kind of feels like dating during the pandemic is like dog years. Like you just have
Right.
so much more time to get to know someone and figure out what they're all about, and you can figure out really quickly during a pandemic if your priorities are the same and what you value. And so it's been wonderful. Weird but wonderful. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Were you saying that he's never been to a concert?
No. That
Oh,
we've never been to a
okay.
concert together.
I thought
no,
I was like,
that would be definitely not
all right.
a complete non-negotiable.
Right. That's the way I read first when we were talking, like, because I know some people like that, like, or they've been to like one or what, and I'm just like, I've gone to. There's times where I go to like 4 or 5 a week, you know, when everything was happening.
Yeah,
like,
you remind me a lot, and I think you have maybe had him on the podcast, Isaac Chosich.
yeah, I know Isaac. Yeah.
So he was in the youth group of my ex-husband's church.
Okay.
Way back in the day. And so, yeah, I got one of his shirts. Isaac Chosich, Smoke Association.
Yeah.
So, woo, Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Big fan. But yeah, he'll hit like back in the day, he would hit like 10 concerts a week.
Oh yeah.
If
oh yeah.
not more.
I run into him on a lot of shows, and
Yeah.
yeah. He's a big music fan also.
So fun.
Yeah. That's funny to think about him in a youth group, and
In Overland, Missouri.
there was he was a part of an episode we recorded of this show. It was still one of a kind. We did the premise of the episode was the guys were going to take mushrooms and promote this show they were doing, and a snowstorm rolled in.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make it.
Right.
And they were like,
But they still wanted to
they were like, the deed's already been done.
no.
And
No.
so they were like, I was like, well, if you can figure out some way to record it,
Right.
I'll post it. And I was under the assumption, like, you guys do your own podcast without me, and I'll still post it. But they called me. They happen to have 2 sound engineers at the
my
podcast,
goodness.
so they had no problem like
Right.
figuring this out. They called me, and they had my had the phone wired in, so like it sounds perfect. And it wasn't great on my end, but it sounded great on the recording, so it didn't matter. But I'm sitting on my couch like hosting the show,
Right.
and they're all in a separate room on mushrooms, and there's shenanigans ensue.
I
So
bet.
it's
That's so
it's a lot of fun. So check that one out.
Mom, we are not on mushrooms
No,
right now.
right?
Let me be clear. In the middle of a custody case, I am not on mushrooms right now.
You well, not to segue out of custody, but you mentioned your children earlier,
Yes,
though, and
yes.
You talked about your oldest, but have you noticed them being performers as well?
Oh my goodness, 100% they're performers. I've got 2 girls and a boy. The 2 girls can do Sisters from White Christmas flawlessly, and are just always, they love telling jokes. I taught them how to roast, which is going to bite me in the butt a lot. But it was really funny because my 7-year-old, because I was doing my first roast show, Joke Roast Toast, which is a Zoom show that Spark Tabor, a comic out of Chicago, puts on. And actually, this coming Monday, JC Sabala and I will be roasting one another and going against one another. So it'll be a great one to tune into. I hope I don't cry because he is vicious.
Yeah.
But so they wanted to understand what a roast was. And so my 7-year-old says to me, after I explained it, hey, Mom, how's the air up there? And I was like, that's kind of weak. And so I don't hear anything from my oldest. And then I'm making dinner, and she comes in and she says, hey, Mom, I'd ask you to put the star on the top of the tree, but that's probably too low for you. And I was like, okay, that had some thought and some structure. I'm impressed. But yeah, they love telling jokes. We love watching Halloween movies around Halloween and Christmas movies around Christmas. And we watched Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
And they were asking about Eddie Murphy. And I said, well, he's a stand-up like Mommy. And so then I hear my 7-year-old on Zoom school. They're in e-learning. And she's saying, my mom is just like Eddie Murphy. I'm like, okay, you know what? Just go with it. I'm just going to be fine with it. They're worse comparisons. So they're definitely little performers.
Yeah. How's the air up there? My dad would tell me that he would get that. Obviously, that was even he graduated 74 or something. He said he would get that from in school and stuff, like, and he said he would spit on their head and say it's raining. So I was like, well, that's one way to do it. Like, so,
that is one.
Yeah.
Not now.
Right,
Now you get arrested for spitting.
Yeah.
Whew.
I don't know if it was. I doubt he really did it, but that's what he. That was his comeback. So
That's funny.
But yeah, we're getting here, very close to Christmas time. What's like the thing for you and the girl or your kids, like where you like this is Christmas time? Like
This is Christmas
what's
time.
like the biggest moment where you're like where it really feels like.
So the segue from Thanksgiving to Christmas is always watching Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And because we've designated it in my home to be a Thanksgiving movie.
That's what I said.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's in between
Right.
Halloween and Christmas. So that's always one of our first things. And we also bake a lot of cookies. We go the Saturday after Thanksgiving for Small Business Saturday. We always go to the Fair Trade store and pick out an ornament for the year and get their chocolate advent calendars. And so they know that signifies it. It makes it a little funky because we have 50-50 custody, so they're in both homes. And so then my eldest will be like, okay, well, I'm going to save all my chocolate that I'm going to miss for the next time I'm here. And then my 7-year-old is like, how much can I eat? How much can I eat till? When am I back here?
All right.
How much? I'm just like, oh, that's really not at all the point. We're kind of completely missing it. But we went last night and the boyfriend met the kids for the first time, and we went and did Candy Cane Lane in Holly Hills and got hot chocolate and did all the things. And they always have to get out and dance at the house on, I think it's Angel Tree Lane is what it's called, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a smaller side street very close to Candy Cane Lane, but there's a light display that is matched up to music. And
Yeah.
so you turn on your radio to a certain station and they always have to get out and dance there. And so we do that, and it's been fun, but also hard to make sure to establish traditions that are new for just my house. And so trying to honor the ones that they understood as established before, and yet also make new ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's I'm sure that's got to be very difficult and a challenge, but also exciting, to think about the chance at new traditions and stuff. So yeah. For me, growing up, there was this like turn as you get close to our house, and this family right there on the corner always had this like old kind of covered wagon on their property. And it just sat there as like a yard ornament pretty much for
Right.
all the time. But come December, they would always have these like sawhorses, and
Okay.
they would put lights on them, and then of course the one at the front always had the red nose for Rudolph, and so it'd be turned from a covered wagon into Santa's sleigh, and that was always for me like like that was, whenever that was lit up, like, and that was the first time you see that, like, all right, now we're getting Christmas time, like,
Absolutely.
things are getting real. So
I think they're going to be so confused by weather, though.
Yeah.
What to
Yeah.
associate with Christmas as far as weather goes. And it's so crazy with e-learning, they won't have snow days.
Yeah.
That's
right,
it's really
that was
weird.
those were the best.
Yes.
You wake up at 6 a.m., find out the school's closed, and
Right. Well, and even sick days for them now with e-learning, it's like they might have a cough, and I'm like, no, get up
Yeah.
and sit down. All you have to do is look at a screen.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
yeah, we I don't know. I can't imagine trying to do that as a kid. Like, I just
No, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Adults don't do well at
Right.
it. And so luckily, I mean, anyone with half a brain knew before this that teachers were amazing, but my goodness, they are heroes. It is insane what they deal with this e-learning and how they have adapted what they're doing to where my children still feel so incredibly cared for and really love their teachers and have a feeling of community with their classroom that they've never been in person with. And it's just amazing what these teachers are capable of.
yeah. So I work in a school. I work in elementary, I mentioned, and we started off doing like a split thing
Okay.
where like
Hybrid.
yeah, like half kids went one Monday, Tuesday, half went Thursday, Friday, and then we went a couple weeks in. We went to 5 days a week, and we've been doing that since. And no, it's definitely, even in that, it's incredibly difficult, but I see it firsthand. These teachers like are doing all they can to,
Oh my goodness.
and
Thank you, teacher.
yeah, thank you. But they're like, some of them are, we've had some sent home because kids test positive, or
Right.
whatever it is, and they, crying and think, like they're invested in what they're doing here, obviously, and like it's heartbreaking that they can't do it the way they wanted to, or they
weren't trained for
yeah,
this.
right. So it's
right. It's amazing what their level of adaptability
Yeah.
is.
Yep. So big shout out to those teachers and
Yes.
frontline and everybody that's making this, doing all they can to try to figure out how to get through this thing. So, I had a couple of questions
Oh,
for
okay.
you. I've been having fun with these. Well, one I asked you to think about. We mentioned some live music and things
Yes.
earlier and stuff. But I asked you to think about your top three.
Top 3 live music
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
So, in trying to narrow it down, I think the top 3 are going to be 1999. I saw Jars of Clay
All right.
in Peoria, Illinois. And for those of you that aren't aware, Jars of Clay is a contemporary Christian band from Greenville, Illinois. So some local flavor. But that is so ingrained in my memory because it's the first time I got in the mosh pit. And I felt so cool. And I was the only kid from the youth group that got in the mosh pit. So I was the badass on the way home to Normal, Illinois. And they only had one, I think it was called Flood.
Yeah,
like they had one heavy song.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's
so
still-
it was the only song you could possibly mosh to.
Still gets a lot of radio play.
And so actually, if you ever watch Crashing, Pete Holmes is probably my favorite stand-up comedian. He's why I started doing stand-up. And I think in the first episode of Crashing, there's a Jars of Clay song that gets played, and Artie Lang makes fun of him for playing Jars of Clay. But so that one. Then the second one would be Flaming Lips at the Canopy Club in Champaign, Illinois in spring of 2003. And it's a pretty small venue. And it was their Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots tour, and we got there pretty early. It was a bunch of friends who went from the Milliken Underground Concert Committee, who put on all the cool shows at the university, and they actually asked us to come and dance on stage during the whole show. So I got to be in one of the amusement park costumes and just dance on stage with the Flaming Lips the whole concert, and it was amazing. And then I think the third, I got to sit front row last August for Brandi Carlile.
Oh, nice.
And it was amazing. Her album, it's The Joker, isn't it? Is that the album?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
But so her most recent album, it was definitely like the soundtrack of my divorce.
Yeah.
And so it was a super cathartic thing to go. And she is a freaking powerhouse live. It is just stunning.
I'm really, really big fan of her also with the Highwomen.
Yes, they're wonderful.
Yeah, big fan of all those ladies. Yeah. What was your first live comedy experience?
So that's what's interesting is that I didn't go to comedy until I started comedy.
Until you did your own open mic.
And so I would watch specials on Netflix, but especially being a mother of three, that wasn't something we sought out to do for date night. And so afterwards, obviously, like any show I can get, right? Any show I can get to. And I remember the first time I went to a show after starting the open mic, it was a former SNL cast member, and I won't say who, but a friend who was buying the tickets, who really encouraged me to do stand-up. He had said, hey, do you want to go see Joel McHale at Helium? And I was like, no, I really want to go to Funny Bone because that's where I just did the open mic. And so I'd love to go and show my support. And they're like, well, the person there is trained in improv and Joel McHale is trained in stand-up. So don't you think you'd learn more from the person? And I was like, no, I want to go to the Funny Bone. And then I'm sitting there like, oh no, this is not good. This is like, people are paying money for this and people got babysitters for this. And I'm like almost crying out of empathy for the people who have done this. But like, I don't think people realize that a lot of times when agents don't know what to do with celebrities after they're not doing movies or anything, they'll be like, oh, just try stand up, right?
All right.
Stormy Daniels was just at Helium, right? And so not everyone who headlines is great.
I've definitely been to those shows where it's like, it's a show. It's not necessarily a good show,
right?
But it's like, I feel like they should come up with some kind of disclaimer. Like,
yes.
This is not a stand-up show. Like,
right. You are meeting a personality.
Right.
But this is not going to be constructed joke writing. It's right.
I feel like, I've heard those stories. Like I've asked people, hey, you want to go see stand-up? I'm like, oh, we've seen stand-up before. We saw this person.
Right.
I'm like, no, that is, you went to the wrong show. That's so, when you were talking about being pulled up on stage, triggered a memory for me. I didn't get to dance on the stage, but not really, but a little bit, but not much. But I went to see Steve Byrne at SIUE.
Okay.
And he was there with blanking on his name now. He was a magician comedian.
Okay.
So he did the first chunk of the show. It was like a homecoming weekend type of thing, or something like, or whatever, family weekend deal. But so majority of the crowd is mixed family, little ones and everything. And they said, and his portion of the show was family friendly.
Absolutely.
The magician comedian. And then they came out and said, this is your cue to head out if you have little ones.
Oh, okay.
The next part of the show is adult humor.
Humor.
Yeah, kind of thing, or whatever they said. But, it was definitely heavily implied, like if you have babies, that aren't going to be appropriate audience, that you should probably get up and go. And Steve Byrne comes out and he starts doing his act. He definitely, you could tell he was adjusting because there's 10-year-olds in the front row.
Right.
And then I think he eventually got to the point where, like, hey, they warned you. If you don't, if you, like, I was hired to do a show. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
Do it. And,
Absolutely.
And so he says some joke, and it's not even like a great joke by any means, but it got the job done. But he said something along the lines of like I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like ejaculating in a girl's eye or something like that. And like I watched like half the crowd get up and walk out the door, and like that made me laugh so hard. Because like I was like,
just seeing people react is one of the most entertaining parts of it. I got to do a stand-up show for a church's women's ministry event, and I don't really change my material from doing churches to doing clubs, and so I have some jokes about being back in the dating scene for the first time in 13 years and how lots changed, and sexting. And I thought it was going to be all grown women. And this one woman is sitting there with her junior high daughter. And I knew the daughter's name. And so I totally called her out. And I was like, hey, you know what this is. Your mom knows what this is. And the biggest issue is if you guys aren't talking about it.
Right.
And so I don't think we're doing anyone any favors when we put on this air of being proper and prudish and like we're offended by things that, like, we grew up with our families watching Christmas Vacation and these things, like 80s movies are so dirty when you go back and look at them. And then there's this morality police that has come about family values, and it's just like, you all know you laugh at this stuff at home alone.
There's all sorts of stuff for sure. I remember I've talked about it, but like how my dad had this Conway Twitty box set.
Okay,
and it's like harmless enough country music at face value. Right. And then you start listening to these lyrics, like as an adult, and you're like, man, these songs are messed up. Like he, just so every one of them, lover with a slow hand, tight fitting jeans, whatever. They're all definitely.
They're all teaching life lessons.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of sexual stuff in all of them, but. So I'm at Steve's show. He gets to this point where he's putting together this like boy band on stage.
Okay.
And he gets to he's walking the crowd, and he gets close enough to my row where I'm like, oh no, he's picking me, or he's picking my buddy Will, who's like in like a white button down with a white ball cap, and he looks like he's in a boy band already. So like. I was like, or he's picking me because I'm my size, and of course he picks me, and he pulls me up, and he's like walking me up to the stage, and he says it's like pulling a Macy Day float because my head's so big.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, it's a good thing I don't have any kind of complex about this or something, It's like, so I get up there, and having us like do our best like dance moves and stuff or whatever, but anyway, that's pretty much the story. But it was a lot of fun to be a part of the show and getting and seeing Steve.
Absolutely.
But, it's yeah. Anyway, so it's first time. I think it was probably the only time I've ever danced on stage.
Okay.
Yeah, silly stuff. But yeah, I don't know. This was so let's go. One thing I've been having fun with. I recently watched Toy Story.
Okay.
And I was thinking about, like, if you had your own pull string, what would your your pull string? What would a Meredith Hopping pull string?
Absolutely. Aren't women amazing? Is something that I say quite a bit in my sets. Also, Jesus wasn't white is another thing I fit in wherever I can.
All right.
Just like to offer that history lesson to people. What else do I say? I say amazing a lot. I use that word quite a bit.
It's a good one.
I say mother of pearl. I don't really curse or swear or whatever we're calling those words
right.
at this point.
So is mother of pearl? That's your curse
mother
word?
of pearl is definitely one of my substitutes for swears. I've definitely sworn in front of my children, and we had to have a long talk because in the two different houses we have different ideas of things, and so they'll get in big trouble at daddy's if they use certain words. And I've told them, you will not get in trouble at my house for using words if you can explain to me why you used it in order to express your feelings. Sometimes those are the best words. There are even, like, the Apostle Paul says the equivalent of shit, right? In the Bible, when you translate it correctly. So it's important to not make words themselves bad or to focus on behavioralism. So I live in a two-family flat near Tower Grove, and I live on the second floor. So oftentimes with 3 kids, I'll get the one in the car seat and then still be trying to get the other 2 to come down the stairs. And so I got my son, who's 3, in his car seat. I've got the door open and I'm telling the girls, come on, girls, we need to get going. And I hear from the car him say, ladies, get in the damn car. And I'm like, I have more issue with your tone and how you said ladies than I do with your use of the word damn.
All right.
So that's what we're going to focus on. Intent is much more important.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good example for about anything today. Like, I think there's a lot of, especially in comedy, there's a lot of people focus on certain buzzwords or certain things.
Absolutely.
And just because you say these words or certain things doesn't necessarily mean it comes from a place of hate or anger or anything. It's but that's the single word they pick out of some of these things. And so yeah,
cancel culture, right, is a very serious thing, especially in my line of work with stand-up. And I would encourage everyone to go follow Sarah Silverman on Twitter. I don't know if you're aware of this, but she started interacting with someone who was a former neo-Nazi and who was totally trolling her. And they were able to have a conversation, and she was able to get him medical help that he needed, and was able to understand that the reason he became a neo-Nazi was because that's where he found love and acceptance and desperately wanted to be loved and accepted. And so when we decide to just cancel people, yes, you do lose some privileges, right? Like, there are some things that are wrong and cannot be tolerated.
Yeah.
But when we cancel people and don't have any desire for them to get better or to know better or learn better, we're part of the problem, and we're just driving it further. the division between us. And so that's not what I'm not saying, right? I need to make it clear. I'm not saying that victims are responsible for helping to rehabilitate their abusers. 100% not saying that. I'm saying that we have a huge tendency in our society and culture right now to absolutely cancel people without any understanding of context or their experience or anything. So
Right. Yeah. It can happen in a second.
absolutely. And I think about too, I was in the marching band. Sorry, please don't kick me off SNL, when you hear this story, when I'm on SNL in a few years. I was in marching band and I was in the color guard, and we did Miss Saigon, which is a musical about the Vietnam War. And all of the girls in the color guard definitely were dressed as Asians. 100%. We were dressed as Asian women, but social media didn't exist, right? And we were just doing what the adults in our lives were telling us to do. And yet, if that picture was somewhere, I'm doing something completely unacceptable. And so it's such a delicate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. It's just. I think there's something to, not necessarily rehabilitating, like you're saying, but I think there's something powerful about what, like you're saying, what Sarah's doing, just to even the psychological and learning to understand somebody else with a difference of opinion.
We've stopped listening to people's stories, and we live in such a fast-paced world that there's not time to listen to people's stories. And I also don't think we know anymore what it is to be heard by someone else and to actually be seen and heard. And I hope that whenever things are less pandemic-y, that maybe we allow more time for that.
Yeah, I hope so. Meredith, what's a movie or TV show you wish you were in?
Oh, goodness.
Is there a certain...
That's so broad. Crashing, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love Crashing so much. But just so people know, it doesn't happen that fast, right? Have you watched it?
No, I don't have HBO.
I'll give you my login.
All right.
No, I won't. HBO. I think HBO has said that they want people to give logins to other people because they know that then people are more likely to. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Everyone's doing it.
I had it for about I've subscribed for the free trial just to watch the Fresh Prince reunion.
Nice.
Which was great. So
yeah. I highly recommend Crashing. It's absolutely wonderful. Also, oh my goodness, I had not been on the Schitt's Creek bandwagon.
Oh, so good.
Oh my goodness. I had it on, and part of me was being snobbish because I've been with Christopher Guest, right, and Eugene Levy for years with Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman, and then I see that all these people like them, and like Catherine O'Hara, and now see their brilliance when I was just the dorky theater kid wanting everyone to watch Waiting for Guffman, and so I kind of poo-pooed it for a little bit and turned it on. No one warned me about the emotional toll the last season was going to take on me.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I think I'm almost through season 4 right now.
It is amazing. The character arc on that show of every single one of the characters is some of the best written television
I agree.
I have ever experienced.
And they're all so incredibly talented at playing their character.
Oh my goodness. It's and I know it's ridiculous to say that a comedy show is beautiful, but it is beautiful.
Sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. There's wasn't too far back. I don't think it's any kind of spoiler. It's been online and all over. It's been several years ago now, but there's a great scene when David is talking about the wines that he likes.
Yes.
And stuff.
Yes.
Like that is so well written.
It
and like
is.
it's incredible. Like
it is. And what I love is that they didn't have any idea it was going to become the worldwide phenomenon
Right.
that it is. And they were simply doing what they organically had to do and what they had to create and what they knew they were supposed to say. And good and great art does that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people are being their truest selves, that's what spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, so good. As we just watched another 2 episodes last night, and me and my wife, and it takes us a while because we're watching it together, and
Right.
and there's not as much. We don't have as much time to together to watch and to sit and watch the show, so it's been taking us a while, but we're getting there.
Wonderful.
But yeah, the most recent episode we watched was where David and he's doing karaoke at this hotel bar, and he's talking about doing like a set of Mariah Carey songs or something like that. And like, I don't know, it was really funny to me. But he's like, keep the mics hot. I'm
Right.
coming in. Like, I just like you see, he referred to it as his set. That's what makes me laugh like that. It
Yes.
was like,
And
you know.
I miss karaoke so much. Oh my goodness.
what's your karaoke one?
My karaoke song is Roar by Katy Perry.
All right,
Yep.
that's a good one.
It's my standard. Yeah, Tim's Chrome Bar right down the street is once things are back open, everyone go to Tim's Chrome Bar. It's amazing. 2 older gentlemen play the bass and the electric guitar while you're doing karaoke.
All right.
It's amazing.
Check it out. I haven't I don't do karaoke often at all, but I think the last time I did Bob Seger's Night Moves,
Nice.
and I want to say it was, it was pretty good. So I don't mean to brag, but and let's see. Do you this is always a fun one because like to see who bites, but do you do any celebrity impressions?
I really don't. And I know if I want to be on SNL, I have got to get on that. I do have a character that I do that's a divorcee who's moved here from New Jersey, but
Yeah.
I don't yeah.
Yeah. Just still working on that one.
I mean, I can
Yeah.
do it. I don't know.
Oh, what's her name?
It'll have, her name's Cindy, and yeah, I guess I'll just do a little bit. So hi, my name is Cindy. My ex-husband is Tony of Tony's Finer Foods, and he had the finest meats and cheeses in all of the New Jersey metro area. And now I moved here to St. Louis, and the only thing that I've kissed on the mouth in the last 6 months is my dog. So yeah, that's Cindy.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks for stopping by. I sat in a Denny's one night with Libby Higgins, and I got to.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, she makes me laugh so much, and she did. I kind of got her doing some Carla and
Yes.
and different some of her stuff, and like it was very fun to be a part of that, and like just as like she was able to work right into a character and stuff, and but I mean that's like obviously improv and sketch and theater and everything that we've talked about, like all those skills are obviously SNL is the big one to
Absolutely.
showcase all those
That's the mothership.
skills. So that would be so that's the dream. That's or something, one of the dreams.
Maybe life does not look anything like I thought it would.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying really hard. I want to have very focused goals, but not have concrete ideas of what the future has to look like. I know that I adore making people laugh. And that's really, as long as I'm getting to do that, I'm pretty content.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, it just I don't know. I have dreams, I guess. Still, there's things I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Still working on that. But as long as I can involve music and comedy and having a good time, like
Absolutely.
again, I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at now. It can only go even better. And of course, I think even that's the thing. Like, you don't even know if it's right for you till you get there, kind of thing. Like, there's things I want to do, and I'm like, I hope that's right. It's like that's what the whole getting out of high school and picking a career and everything.
My goodness.
Like, and thinking
our system is so it's not set up for people to actually live into what they're passionate about and what their calling is, and we probably don't have time to get into get into all my thoughts on that.
Sure.
But
I do feel like me and you, we're in a very similar place where, we're still finding out where we are in this thing, in this business, and and it's very exciting to to think about what possibly could happen. So, and especially, in our early 30s, finding it out and stuff is just like there's never too late to give it a try.
It's never too late. And I know any time before this wouldn't have been right for me.
Right.
That's the beauty of everyone's journey being different and just accepting and not trying to go along with anyone else's timeline.
Right.
We get these ideas that by this age you have a home and two cars and 3.5 kids or whatever it is. And that's just such, like, I know I sound like a high school counselor, but you can only compare yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
And otherwise you're setting yourself up for misery. It's just, you can't do it.
Well, let's end with, what would the piece of advice you give yourself, to a young Meredith Hopping?
Oh my goodness! Stop giving a shit about what other people think.
That's a huge one.
And I still struggle with it. Obviously, I think we all do. But oh my goodness, the fun that I have had in life once I stopped caring about what other people think, and the joy that I've had. It is immeasurable.
Right.
And I just wish so much that I could go and shake these junior high girls' faces and just say, it really won't matter. It will not matter. It does get better. Sometimes it also gets worse. Like, we set everyone up for this fairy tale and this happy ending idea of what success has to look like. And instead of celebrating everyone's individual journey, and we do such a disservice to one another. And so that would absolutely be it. And find your people, right? Find the people that care about you and are your family. It's not always your blood family. Find people that support you and actually want the best for you and will tell you the truth even when it hurts. Because I want someone to tell me if I'm not funny, right? That's
those it does seem like there's quite a few around the comedy community, especially hanging around Funny Bone and those nights where they'll be honest. They'll tell you, hey, that needs work or whatever, and here I can maybe offer this help or whatever. So I agree. I do definitely find your people that where you belong and stuff. So, but Meredith, this has been incredible. Big thank you to Heavy Anchor for
and to Arkaden Cinema. This is their back lot where I believe you can rent it out throughout the winter if you want to have a party and have a private movie showing. So do that and continue to support small businesses in this really crazy time for them.
Yep. And but yeah, thanks thank you for doing this. It's been a fun evening. I'm glad we made this happen.
Thank you for having me.
Be sure to check out Homespun Sisters.
And you can also follow me on Instagram, just at Meredith Hopping.
Yeah. And get plugged in on the
Yes.
socials. Keep up with all this fun stuff happening. And catch Meredith at a comedy club near you sometime soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And on Monday on Joke Roast Toast, which you'll be able to find on my socials.
All right. Nice. I'm excited about that. We'll see you roast JC.
See me obliterate JC.
All right. Well, thank you, Meredith.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.